The 3:30 p.m. meeting of the Bakersfield City Council is now in session.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to call to order the 3:30 regular City Council meeting of August 28th, 2024. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go.
Here.
Councilmember Arias. Councilmember Weir.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
I am here.
Councilmember Freeman. Councilmember Gray. Here. And Councilmember Core.
Councilmember Gonzalez is here.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez.
Thank you. And in keeping with Council's resolution, public statements are now received at different times depending on the item. I'll call on the city clerk to call for public statements at the appropriate time, so please listen carefully for the correct time to speak. If you wish to make a public statement, please fill out a public speaker card and place it in the tray on the counter next to the speaker podium. We ask that you mark whether you're here to speak on an item listed on today's agenda or on a matter not on the agenda. Speakers who do not identify a specific agenda item will be presumed speakers for the non-agenda public statements. If you're here to speak on an item not listed on the meeting agenda, you will be called first to speak. Statements are given a 2-minute time limit per speaker, 20 minutes total for all non-agenda public statements. If you're here to speak on an item listed on the agenda, I will call for you at the appropriate time. If public statements become disruptive and I have to clear the chambers to regain order of the meeting, you will be called in one at a time to provide your public statement when your item is called. Everyone in attendance is expected to adhere to the rules of decorum established by resolution of the City Council. Failure to abide by the city's rules of decorum, including any disruptive behavior that interferes with our ability to have an orderly and efficient meeting, prevents the City Council from conducting the business of the city. Consider this a first warning to everyone in attendance that conduct that disrupts the meeting may result in expulsion and/or the chambers being cleared. Behavior that disrupts the meeting includes repetitive statements, shouting, interrupting staff or presenters during the meeting, speaking out of turn, outbursts from the audience, and surpassing the 2-minute time limit. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items not listed on the agenda?
Mayor Go, we've received no speaker cards for items not
Thank
on
you.
agenda.
And then, Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items listed on this afternoon's agenda?
Yes, Mayor, we've received 3 speaker cards.
Thank you. And for the record, Councilmember Freeman entered at 3:31. Would you please call the first public speaker?
Michael Turnipseed.
Welcome. Please introduce
Welcome.
yourself.
Thank you very much. I kind of expected to be like last 2 weeks ago, we could speak afterwards because we weren't given the information and the presentation in advance. So
That's really going to be the case. So if you don't want to speak right now, you don't have to. We will wait until
Thank you very much.
we have the reports. And if is there anybody else, Madam Clerk, who needs to speak at this point?
They're all for item 3A.
Okay, so we'll just wait until we hear the presentations. Would you please read the next item, please?
Reports, item 3A, improvements to the development review process.
Mr. Clegg.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have a series of team members who are going to help with this presentation today, but I get to kick us off. So the first thing that I will say is that this is an update. We don't have an action item that's in front of Council on this. We have lots of work to do still in this area, but we want to report back to the Council that we've been working diligently over the last 6+ months on several pieces of this initiative and wanted to just provide that update to Council today. As you'll see on the screen, of course, this is a very high Council priority. In fact, for the listening public, a year ago, we sat in workshop with the City Council and identified priorities of the City Council, and I will acknowledge that we have a fairly aggressive work plan that has more than 40 different priority initiatives. But we narrowed down, even amongst those initiatives, the top 10. And the number one priority of your council at that workshop was creating greater ease of the development process. So this topic today is your number one priority that was identified. We have created a number of different areas because it's not just one or two things that we think we can do to be better. So we created a number of different areas where we're going to streamline processes, offer and create new tools and technologies and resources to help with this, look at best practices in other areas, but also really listen to the community. So we've created a stakeholder advisory group of developers that are from our Bakersfield community, and we've brought them together with us several times to just a couple of first times was just to listen about their thoughts and ideas around the development process, but then also bring them back and share with them some of the ideas that we had. And we're going to continue, and we thank them for their time and effort because it's a volunteer effort on their part, but continue to come back and share with them. We heard you suggest this. We think this gets at that, but we still want to hear, does it really? And continue to have that feedback loop with our stakeholder advisory group from the development community. Also, as I noted at the beginning, we're going to have several individuals from our team come up and talk about this because it's not just a singular department. This covers multiple departments, the development process itself, just going through the permitting process. It covers multiple departments. But then also there's work that departments do that are in support of trying to make sure we have good projects happening, good things coming forward. And then just want to reflect, for a couple of minutes on, what is the overarching goal here and the ease of the development process and being a developer-friendly community. We have, publicly made the statement in our strategic plan and council goals that we want to be the most business-friendly city in California. We did acknowledge the California piece there because we know sometimes there are some regulatory challenges that we deal with here as a member of the state of California that aren't totally within our control. But here in this context, we want to be the best. That means that things are predictable. It means that things are consistent. It means that we've tried to make it easy and streamlined. There are some obligations that we have as the public entity to make sure that life and safety codes are upheld and that we're also being thoughtful and strategic about land use development patterns. But outside of that, it means that we're finding solutions and finding ways to get to yes, not ways to get to no. And again, the two things that we've heard most from our developer stakeholders are that, that we needed to be predictable and we needed to be consistent and timely. And so, again, it's even not to say that, of course, we're looking hard at how do we make it cheaper, but even it's not always just about the fees. Folks are willing to contribute what is fair if they know that they can get it done timely and predictably. And so we're working towards that end. And so we'll walk through several different pieces today for how we've been moving down that path. But of course, recognize, as I mentioned, that there's much more to do, but we're making progress. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Hallen, who has been helping coordinate the efforts amongst departments to work on these different facets of this initiative.
Good afternoon, Gary Hallen, Assistant City Manager. Excited to share this topic. As City Manager Clegg's mentioned, we've poured a lot into this over the last not only 6 months, but it goes back a few months prior to that. So this is being a high priority. It involves a lot of departments. So I want to go through kind of our the meat of our presentation today, and then introduce those that will come up and share, because it won't just be one of us who takes the lion's share of this. So I'll just quickly go through our agenda topics. We'll first talk about that developer and internal feedback. We've done 2 surveys at this point, both in 2022 and 2023, so we'll share a few of those results. They were both qualitative and quantitative, so it gave meaningful feedback. We have a red team. This is not our white glove team, which we've talked about before, but this is a cross-departmental team that is in the system, in the permitting system, in the development review system, that's giving us feedback on what's working, what do we need to tweak, and that's been meaningful. we realize this is phase one, and it's a continual process. We need to get better, and so we'll talk about some of the progress we've made during this phase one phase and then in future. We'll then have our brand new Development Services Director, Mr. Phil Burns, come up and talk about the online permitting, where that's at and how that's going to improve in a short time. And then he'll also share the set timeframes that we've landed on some of our planning processes, specifically the site plan review. After Mr. Burns, we'll have Jenny Byers come up and talk about our business success team. This is the white glove team that helps those looking to develop here, those that are here and want to expand. How do they do that, and what's the best way to help them, how that ties to many efforts that we're already working on from an economic development strategy. We're going to hear from a couple of our developers that I've invited to share some of their feedback. One that's actually in the process right now of developing a project, so you'll hear a couple messages there. And I've also invited our developers that we've had some of these feedback sessions with to come up and share some of the feedback so you can hear that process. We want to hold a mirror up. We want to have folks tell us, how are we doing? How can we get better? And that's part of the process. We'll get a little bit into the next phase, what we want to come back to this council with of new improvements after this phase one, and then we'll have a closeout of how this relates to the mission and goals of your council. So I'll first touch on our survey. This is a little bit of a complicated chart, but I'll try to go through it briefly. As I said, we've done 2 surveys. One was in 2022, and then our last survey conducted was in November of 2023. The reason I share that exact date is because that was the date that our online permitting system was down. It just so happened to be, we had the survey out for 3 weeks, and the system went down after week 1, the survey was out. So timing is everything. So the survey results in 2023 do not share a very good story. But again, we want to hold the mirror up and see how we look and how we can get better. A couple of just quantitative data that I want to share. And we're asking, basic questions, how easy is our process? And we ranked it from 5 would be, the score of 5 would be the highest, you're doing really well, or the score of 1 would be, you're not doing so well. And then what you have there is the average for both the developer responses, and then we also wanted to ask our internal staff that work in this process, give us a self-assessment. So we have our developer column, our staff column, and then a blended column. A couple of those questions down at the end of this section we're showing are, would you pay for or feel that a pre-application meeting would be valuable? We got some good feedback from developers. However, they didn't want to pay for it, so there was that feedback. So we're still looking at that as a future phase. I think the qualitative I summarized there. They can see that we have a desire to improve, and they like that. They want to see that we're being innovative. We're looking for ways that we can improve. And so some of those comments, you'll see that, it's a friendly environment. When we compare ourselves to those that are down south on environmental review, many of those environmental reviews take a long time, and sometimes it's an entire EIR is required on many projects, but we have found ways to do that better and faster. So you're seeing that in some of those comments there. Just a few more questions on the survey. I won't dwell too much on this, but I think the main point on the qualitative data, you will see that we have an opportunity to improve. Because the timing of the survey in November of 2023, that's a baseline. It is a low bar, but I think there's opportunities to improve. I again summarized some of those qualitative comments of where were we seeing these comments frequently, and upgrading the online and permitting system was obviously highest on our developers list because the system was down. So we know that's an area that we can improve. We also heard that communication between our Public Works Department and our Development Services Department, and maybe some of these other interdepartmental communications, was not where it needs to be, and so that was also a high priority as number 2. They mentioned that staff could be trained, and that could help. So we realize that's another area, and then more just on customer service and clearer guidelines, which is things that the red team actually identified as well. So the feedback from our developers, the feedback from our internal group align. So that tells us these are the areas that we can focus on. We had 2 different sessions with everyone in the city that touches the development review process. And these 2 sessions, so I've talked about the 2 surveys, these sessions were hosted by Nick Kittle. We hired Nick Kittle to come in and look at our processes, talk to our teams, train us on things that we can do to specifically target these steps in the process. And he did some great sessions where he taught our teams, he gave them tools, taught our teams how to do process mapping, which is a really interesting concept where you look at each step in the process, you identify what's a decision point and does that need to be made and is that important? And our teams are already using that. We're seeing some successes, and Director Burns will talk about that in our site plan review. He had another session where we talked specifically about site plan review because we heard some feedback of that's an area where we can focus on, and that process resulted in a set time frame, which Mr. Burns will talk about. And everybody in that room, all 65 of us that work on the development review process, all came out of there with an agreement of here's where we need to go. So that was a pivotal moment and good improvements as part of this process. I've talked a little bit about the red team, but I want to identify them because they have been valuable to me. I meet with them on a regular basis, and we talk about what are areas that we need to focus on. I've had Ernie Medina from City Fire. I've had Adrian Castro, Susanna Cormendi, Tony Jaquez, Jason Humphreys, Martine Ledesma, Kevin Trulson, and Chris Hines. All of those individuals touch the development process somewhere. And they've been valuable of giving feedback not only to each other and talking to each other, but to the rest of their teams that they work with. Of here's what we're talking about. Here's where we need to get better. And most of it is communication, informing each other, and being more a part of the process. But that team can definitely continue to move in the right direction. We can see some good things coming out of that team. The last thing I want to mention is we did have some sessions with our developers, and it wasn't just developers. We also had engineers at the table, architects, those that submit these plans and go through this process. And in fact, we had some follow-up with Blaine Neptune because he gave us 4 pages of information on areas to improve, which I love. If he's in the middle of this, I want to hear from our architects and engineers on how do we get better. We had a session with Dave Domahowski and the Home Builders Association on, how can we improve, and I talked through some of these continuous improvements, and we'll continue to go back to them and seek that input and that advice, because we only get better as they are our customer, and they can help us get better. So this will be a continuous improvement process. So with that, I will turn it over.
Thank you, Mr. Howland. This is my opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about our system upgrades, and I kind of want to step back before I move to our new system and talk about some of the other items that have happened over the last 6 months. Our Project X system is our plan review system. And about March of last year, we had a pretty major upgrade. And that was some of the downtime was related to that upgrade, which also provided additional transparencies, which I'll get to in a little while. But these upgrades are intended for the customer experience, right? Our applicants. Make things easier to use, make them transparent. That way it's clear where our project is in the process, what needs to be done, and if there's a delay on both city side or the applicant side, it's there, it's clear. What's shown right now is our clarity system, and this is actually on the city side. It's a dashboard that each individual person, city employee, can create their own specific dashboards. They're able to set it up so that they could track the type of projects that they review. Again, trying to ease the process. If they know they have 10 projects, it's going to show them the 10 projects that they need to take care of. Along with that, we start getting into the customer side. This is a new permitting system, not a new plan review system. So it's that interface that will allow the applicants to create an account, to be able to submit the various type applications, to process their plan reviews in one location, to do their inspections, pay the bills, get their job card, and I'm going to walk through that to go over the process. So as an applicant, once you set up your profile, you're going to have your home, you're going to have what's my permits. So you're not going to see everyone's permits, but if you have a business account and you're a subset in that business account, I'm going to have access to all of my permits for that business. So if I am a home builder and maybe I'm the person that submits the plans, but I'm not the person that does the inspections. As long as I'm part of that business, now I have access to that permit and all those records. Same thing with the application. So again, trying to provide those intuitiveness and make it more user-friendly. Once a permit is applied for, again, moving towards the transparency, you'll see that blue box, that application. That's a ribbon that's going to be found in all of our new permitting system that shows an applicant where you are. So at this point, in this particular one, it's only an application that's been submitted. It hasn't been accepted for review. So there's other tabs there, that the review, the issuance, it's under inspection, certificate of occupancy. Again, is showing that end user where we are in the process. Below that, you're going to see some different items, details, inspections, tasks. I'm not going to get to that in a second. Intuitiveness. Our current system, it's based on an old mainframe system. It's kind of clunky. This is more of your, hey, Google Maps. I'm going to start typing an address. It's going to start finding those valid addresses. It's that type of intuitiveness that this cloud-based system is going to bring to our permitting system, just to make it easier. I talked about that our plan review system is still saying, well, this integrates completely with the plan review system so that an applicant doesn't have to log into one system to submit my plans, another system to check the status, and a third system to pay. It's now one location. Talking about a little more of the transparency, because that is something that our developers have asked, where's my project? This is a current plan review routing slip, and it provides a detailed record of where our project was, who reviewed it, who's the coordinator, does the applicant have it, does the city have it. This is out there for every single project, so there is no question. If someone wants to know a status of a project, this is available online to both the applicants and the applicants. Kind of touching more up on the new system a little bit is my permits. Current system, you have to go record your own numbers yourself and know where your permits are. This, when you log in as your business account, you're going to have exactly your list of what you've applied for and their statuses. Again, providing that added transparency to our applicants. Same thing with inspections. It's going to have those inspections. So, for instance, if I am a superintendent and I'm not at the job site, I can pull up my inspections and see actually what those results were that day. And further, we're moving electronic on the corrections. So now I can go to my corrections. I can then get a hold of my, maybe inspection supervisor and go, hey, I disagree with this. Now my inspection supervisor also has access to that. So it's going to provide a quicker way of communicating between our field staff and office staff. The approved records. Right now, our approved records are over in one system. You have to come down, sign for a job card, you get your receipts, and you have to those are multiple locations. This now consolidates those records into one files location. So if I had to permit a approved plan here, I would have my approved plan set. I would actually have my job card. I would have my signed permit. If I say I'm a home builder and I get my certificate of occupancy, this is where it's going to show up. So everything is going to be in one spot for that project. Again, providing that ease of use and transparency. Our new system right now is almost done with its migration efforts. Staff is doing testing, as we say. I sent out an email before this meeting for our training schedules. We have 8 planned training sessions. Those training sessions will also be placed on the city website. We have about 170 or so developers that do business with the city. All of those developers have been sent the email training for those 8 sessions, so they're able to either do a virtual session or a in-person session. Again, we don't just want to roll out a new system. We want to make sure that we have supported that system and our development community is able to process permits. Mr. Howland talked about our process mapping and when we start looking at our various development processes. And this is, yes, it's small. I understand you guys can't read the text, and that was done on purpose. But this is what staff went through to look at a site plan review, to look at all the different places and where a decision was made, and assess, do we need to keep that decision point? Do we need to modify that decision point? How is this impacting both staff and the developer? Or is it something that's a legal requirement? So all those items were assessed, and again, this is just one example of one type of permit that staff's trying to go through and address. And this is a little blow up and just showing you kind of an example of what one of those decisions would mean in that process. So there's a lot of work that's been done on the staff side to really look at our process and try to ease it. Part of the process too is how do we convey this information to the public? Staff developed a 2-page brochure. This is part of that brochure just to kind of make it easier to kind of convey what was discussed at one of our staff meetings with the 60 plus people. Is that department review, that second one from the left. That section in that meeting was agreed upon that within 15 working days, business working days, if a project was sent to that site plan review committee, all comments would be completed. And that was so that our overall process, we could get it done 30, 35 days. We're trying to get it closer to that 30 days. So if you turn in something for site plan review, you have those comments. Well, planning staff cannot process their piece without getting all the comments back from the individual departments. So we have some departments that were 5 days, others maybe were 25 days. So it is to provide uniformity, and that's really important because it provides certainty to the developers, and that's really what they're looking for, is that certainty. I kind of alluded to already that site plan review checklist, and that's something else we're trying to work for as we're working through these different processes to also create that additional layer of brochures or pamphlets that we can put on our website to provide more clarity on the process. So it's not just a new system, but it's what can we do better overall? And that's kind of what the city staff's trying to do as far as easing our process. And just to touch upon real quick before I hand it off to Mr. Clegg, we've seen a 5 to 7 days overall per application average on the site plan review as far as reducing the amount of time frames. We're still trying to trim that further, but that's kind of where we are today. And we know that on that pre-screen side, we're looking at some of those days and able to, based on some new reporting, maybe get those from 5 days down to maybe 2 days. So I think we're going to continue to trim off times to make things quicker and better for the developer. Is that Mr. Craig?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Burns. I just wanted to highlight for council again that we have seen already a significant reduction in the amount of time to get through site plan review because we dug in, looked hard at the process, found some ways to cut some steps out, found some ways to streamline. We also believe, again, that the technology tools, which we had initially one piece about a year ago, and then we've had the second piece coming in now that's going to enhance the user interface significantly. Those technology tools are also going to help us along with this process review. But this is just for site plan review. We use this as our first pilot example. We've made a guarantee of that 15 days here. And that's the standard. That's for any typical, that's across the board. All site plan reviews, we're looking at that time frame, and many will be faster than that. This is just the first. So we're going to also continue to go through each of our permit types or review types, and we're going to develop guaranteed timeframes for all of them. This was just the first one. And so we've actually already been, we're not ready to unveil some of those, but we've already started some of the conversation about what do we think are reasonable starting points for some of those timeframes. I'll admit that, there's a mix of opinions, and there's some of us are saying, no, I think we're going to get it a little bit shorter than that. We're, pushing hard, but we're going to have guaranteed timeframes for all of those permit types across the board. The second piece that I will suggest also is we've had some feedback from our development advisory group that there may be some either high volume types of activities or high profile types of reviews where we want to even create a distinct timeline tier that we're exploring, where there are some communities that say if you pay a premium and you use a pre-approved list of firms that are very familiar with our processes, we could even offer a different tier with a different time frame, but again under a certain set of conditions. We're even looking at that as well, as that for certain instances where a premium is needed or warranted, it would be available with even a different set of timelines. We want to continue to work hard to work across the board and get improvements for all of our review processes, but then we're going to go to that next level as well and look at, can we even have a faster tier for some of those projects that are, again, coming at a premium. With that, we'll turn it over to Ms. Byers to walk through a couple other pieces.
Okay. Thank you, City Manager Clegg. As City Council knows, the Economic Development Department was established in 2020. We previously were a part of Development Services, and so moving out from there and making it a department, we went through the process and did an Economic Development Strategic Plan. It includes 17 strategies and 77 actionable items to make these 17 items. But what I wanted to talk about today was two of these, and two of them, the number one is to focus on business retention, expansion, and attraction efforts around our industry clusters. And so as we talk about streamlining, these are one of the ways that we get our businesses to expand. This is a way that we get our businesses to attract new development here, is by having this streamlined process, as well as having a strategy to elevate the city's reputation for business development friendliness. We know that that is one of Council's top priorities for us, but it is included as well in our strategic plan. There are actionable items for business friendliness. We have 4 action steps, 3 of which we're talking about today. And those include establishing a formal business success team composed of high-level representatives of key city departments focused on expediting approval of major development projects. And that's really this process that we've been going through for the past year, having directors involved, having the red team involved, trying to find ways that we can streamline and not pass off from one department to another. We also have established ongoing forum with development community. We haven't developed this as a formal process yet, but as Mr. Hallen explained, we have done the survey for the 2 years, so we are starting our engagement with the development community. We've met with the Home Builders Association, and so trying to establish those relationships and having an ongoing forum that the development community feels that they can reach out to us, that they have access instead of being shut out from the process. And I think that's one thing that they've struggled with a little bit in the past before, is how do we get to this point that we get our building permit approved? We're stuck in the system and we don't know how to get out. And so we're working on those relationships so they know who to contact in this process. And then the last thing is to launch a formal development concierge program at City Hall. We've kind of been calling this the white glove treatment. This is where, again, we have those relationships with developers. They feel like they can reach out to us and not be dinged or have their project set back because they have opposed something that we've done. We've heard that before from some of our developers that, can this be an anonymous survey? Just because they haven't wanted to put their name out there is one that's going to complain about a city process because they have applications in. And so as we look at this white glove treatment or development concierge, that's really some of the goals of the programs. So our business success team, when we talk about true economic development and the city's role in economic growth, we have a lot of incentives, we had a lot of programs that we work with, but when it comes down to it, what can the city truly control when it comes to economic growth? What do we have absolute control over? Because that's also one of the complaints about submitting a building permit. They can't go to anyone else. It's not like they can get different quotes or anything. They are stuck in our process. And so what is it that the city can do in order to control and provide economic growth? The first one's going to be infrastructure, and that's our essential services. Police, fire, water, sewer, those are all classic city functions. And when we look at things like sewer, we have the project that's going through Southeast Bakersfield for a sewer line. It hasn't been able to develop. Unfortunately, it's in Ward 1, and Eric is not here tonight. But that project, just the sewer line, is really providing the backbone of future growth in that community. And so that's where we're going to see really a new community pop up just because a sewer line is being run through the area. But the biggest topic for me for economic growth that the city can control are the regulatory items. Things like the building permit process. Every developer I've ever asked, what do you think I can do to assist? The answer is always, get me through the building process quickly. Time is money. If you tell me 3 weeks, mean it, because I'll have a contractor on standby waiting to go. And if we are behind, that contractor will move on to another project. And so I'll frequently get calls, help me get through this because my contractor is leaving come Monday. And so that's one of the things as the city that we can control directly is our regulatory issues, permitting, zoning, those type of things that we're working really hard to do and provide for council and provide for the community. When we talk about recruitment of businesses, we get asked, sell me on your city. What do you have? And that's one of the quality of life things that we talk about. It's also number 11 of our strategy is to launch a citywide quality of place initiative. And so we're going to be working on that. But the work that we're doing is creating that narrative about what makes us special. I know what makes us special. I, on purpose, came back home to live in the city of Bakersfield because I wanted to be a part of this community and I wanted to be a part of its quality of life. We have 20, 30 miles of Class 1 bike lanes. We have activities, restaurants, shopping. For the 9th largest city in California, we have some amazing things, and that becomes part of our narrative for quality of life, quality of place. And then the last thing that we can do for the city to provide this economic growth is our work that we do with our local business community. We have incentives, EOA, entrepreneurship, workforce development, but it's also where we built this ecosystem around the needs for small businesses. We've done that with our partnerships with our financial institutions, with our educational opportunities, but also our role in the regulatory process. So with that, I've talked about the relationships that we've created and the strategies to elevate the city's reputation. We have a couple of guest presenters. First, I'm going to ask up Jeff Etrium with Bolt House Properties. And then after that, we're going to have Troy Hancock with California Dairies just to present what their experience has been with the city of Bakersfield. So, no. You're on the other side. Hi, it's nice to meet you. There you
Hi,
go.
Jenny. Thanks so much.
Welcome.
Okay.
I know, you're a little bit taller.
Yes, sir. Sorry. Okay, I'll be very brief. I've only brought up Blaine Neptune and Freddie Porter's 8 pages of notes and comments to share. So Jeff Ettram, Vice President of Development at Bolt House Properties. We're a family company. We've been here in Bakersfield for a very long time and have development opportunities for 30, 40 years out here within the city of Bakersfield. So we certainly have a vested interest in this. We appreciate very much having a seat at the table. I think I speak for the development community, HBA, the staff, Gary, Christian, Phil, has been very engaging in trying to get us to the table and ask what the needs are. We are the 9th largest city. That means growth. That means implementing the system. The system, I love holding up a mirror today. It's appropriate that we're having this today since the system's down right now too. Send the survey back out and we'll see where it goes. But no, the system is, the upgrades are needed. The upgrades are appropriate, and it's really working out those kinks, and we appreciate the opportunity to be able to share where we're at. I think the transparency is fantastic, and that starts with the communication back and forth with the development community. What sells Bakersfield, I've been here for 12 years now, moved up from Orange County, so in terms of developers, it's a paradise compared to down south. But what sells Bakersfield, as mentioned, is the timeframes and the certainties. And we've had that historically, and that's what we look to continue to have when we're selling to home builders within our Seven Oaks neighborhood, when we're selling or leasing one of our retail places. Time is money, and being able to explain to them exactly what the time to market is going to be is extremely important, and that's what we're continuing to strive to help the city and shed some light on that. I think that one of the things that the interdepartmental communications is something that I think is very, very important to continue to progress with. There's been talks in some of our workshops about a one-stop shop and bringing in public works and engineering from key members from the subdivision side over under development services and Phil, and I think that would be tremendously positive. I know we're supportive of that because sometimes through the site plan review process or plan review process, it's nice to be able to go to one location, have those conversations when you come up against something. I think we're incredibly supportive of that effort, should that be something that you guys try to implement. And then being a large city, I think at the end of the day, being able to, if you hit a roadblock in the system, still call Development Services Director, Planning Director Paul Johnson, and be able to set a meeting, whether it's pre-development. We're supportive of the pre-development. I'd pay a modest fee for that. I think I said that in the survey. I think being able to anticipate problems and sit down with staff, that's something that Bakersfield's done for years. And even though we're going to the entire electronic system, I think we want to encourage and make sure that that is not lost, because we're a big, small town at the end of the day, and being able to have a face-to-face conversation with someone is extremely important during the development process to be able to work through those issues. So appreciate the opportunity to come up and talk, and yeah, I'll turn it back over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ettram. Thank you for the Bolt House investment in our community. We see so much growth and really appreciate it. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Troy Hancock with California Dairies. Let me slip over to this. So just to give you some background, California Dairies is owned by a group of dairy farmers, with the majority located in the Central Valley and a number of those located in Kern County. So as part of their desire to continue to produce more milk, they were looking for opportunities to build a milk plant in Kern County. And with that, I was tasked with identifying a location within Kern County that would support this business model. So just to give you a little bit of background, we are actually in the process of building this plant over on Gosford and McCutcheon. So this plant is a milk bottling plant that will produce ESL and aseptic milk. So to give you a little more background on what that means, ESL stands for extended shelf life, aseptic stands for shelf stable. So this will be the most technologically advanced milk bottling plant in the world. So first phase is approximately 200,000 square feet. We're making an initial investment of roughly $210 million. We're going to be bringing on staff of approximately 115 people. We have plans and based on what we're seeing with customer demand to grow this facility out in 3 phases. Third phase will be an investment of total investment of roughly $650 million, and we'll hire a staff of approximately 400 people. So with this being the most technologically advanced fluid milk bottling plant in the world, we are in need of hiring that level of educated team members, staff, and we've actually found Bakersfield to be a great community where we can attract and hire that level of people that we need. So we feel very fortunate. So just to give you some background on how this came about, I'm going to share a little bit more with you. So these are the renderings of what we're doing. This is actually the current state of the site. This is a recent photo. So with this being the case, we are full speed moving forward to bring this site into production in December of this year. So to give you a timeline as to what's happened, we initially reached out to the City of Bakersfield, the Economic Development Group, and I look at Jason back there because Jason was a key partner in this. Not only did we reach out to the City of Bakersfield Economic Development Group, we reached out to other cities within Kern County. So in having Jason's support and the Economic Development team partner with this, they helped us identify this location. They've helped us really understand the process to bring this site on as quick as possible. So we were able to purchase this location in, it was actually June of 2023. So we expect to have, like I stated earlier, expect to have full production December of 2024. So it's a quick turn, and that's really due to the support of Jason, his team. Jennifer's been extremely helpful. Gary's been helpful, and Phil. So really appreciate the group and the support that's been provided to us to really make this a positive relationship with the City of Bakersfield. So for me personally, I moved over here with my wife from Gilbert, Arizona. So we are now part of the community. We are excited to be here. We feel fortunate that we've been able to move to this beautiful location. So not only do we feel fortunate that we were able to build this plant here, I feel fortunate as a citizen of Bakersfield to be part of this community. So again, much appreciation to the group and to all the support that we've been given. Not to say that we haven't had some challenges and some roadblocks, but overall, we feel like we've had a voice at the table. We feel like we've been heard, and when we've had needs, they've been quickly addressed. So thank you all and appreciate the support that we've had. So look forward to being a great business partner with the City of Bakersfield and appreciate, again, everybody supporting this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock. You used the phrase, we feel fortunate to build a plant here and to move your family here. The City of Bakersfield and our residents feel fortunate to have you here. So welcome and thank you.
All right, I'm just going to run through this last couple of slides and then turn it over to City Manager Clegg. I did not pay Jeff or Troy to come and share that message. I did ask them to come and share their experience because I wanted you to hear, their story. But exciting new developments coming to the City of Bakersfield. Where do we go from here? So you've heard some of the first phase of our improvements, some other phases, like our next phase of process improvements that we want to get into is we know that we need more training with staff. You heard the cross communication is something that we need to work on. So how do we get better at that? We need to bring them together and unify these groups. So customer service enhancement and customer service training is definitely on the list. We do have on record that Jeff said he would pay for a pre-application meeting, so it's been recorded, Jeff. I'm sorry. You can't take that away. So we know that modest. I did call it, he qualified that. So, but that's good. It's on record. So we know that pre-application effort can be an enhancement. I think along with that, and this is a message that I always carry with me, is do better, be better today. And that's one of the things that is the mantra of this group. Anyone who's involved in this effort, you can only get better by doing it consistently, and then you become better, you be better, and then don't wait for tomorrow to get better. We're going to start today. So these enhancements will continue to go on. A little bit on some technology advancements that Director Burns and I have been talking about is we're going to get through this next phase, but there's future phases of technology upgrades that we can do. Clarity, the company that we're currently working with, has shown us an upgrade where it's an AI application that you answer 20 questions through the AI model that they have, and then that generates the application instantly, which would be incredible for our development community to be able to have something that easy that they can hire staff to get those applications processed. City Manager Clegg talked about our permits and having those set timeframes. We're going to focus on that in this next round of what are those other permits, whether it's grading permits or the like. There are several permits in our queue that can be over the counter as well, and we need to look at that of what can be very quick permits that we can process. Director Burns and I have talked about our ADUs. We've seen great progress in these last few years of ADUs, and those can easily be over-the-counter permits with a basic set of plans that's pre-approved and pre-approved vendors, as City Manager Clegg has talked about. And then finally, Jeff talked about it, and we've been talking about this for quite some time, but we do want a one-stop shop. We feel that is the right direction to go in, having our fire. We have fire plan checkers and fire inspectors. We've got those at Public Works that touch land development. Having that all under one roof at Development Services, there is some space, and we're going to make more space over there in the coming weeks. But it just makes sense. No business is successful if they say, if I'm a restaurant and I say, I want you to get your appetizer over there down the street, and then go get your entree at this other place, and then come back here and you can get your dessert. No business would be successful in doing that. And so we want to operate like a business and have one place where people can get everything that they need and under one leadership, so that there's no excuses at that point. There's accountability built in. So with that, I will turn the remainder of the presentation.
Now that there's a lot more in the presentation, but just wanted to round out with this slide a reflection that we have established a set of values and principles as city staff of how we're going to function, and wanted to just reflect that this is consistent. This process of doing better and how we collaborate with our business partners, how we collaborate with one another, that we want to be accountable, that we want to have clarity and meet those expectations. We want to be innovative and creative and resourceful in coming up with solutions that are different. And we want to. What I always say is, I'll entertain any idea at least once. Let's talk about it. Let's dream big and think big here, and we aim to be not just better, but we aim to try things that if together we say we think it's really going to work, nobody else has done it, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a try. We're not going to do that lightly, but we're willing to do things that are different, that make sense. And of course, strive for a standard of excellence, which again is customer service, and it is solutions oriented, and it's getting to yes, while we're being good stewards of the public trust, public dollars, and again, public safety. We see this as a council #1 priority, something that's going to lead to more prosperity in our community and really be a differentiator amongst other competitors. That is really important to us, and then just weaved throughout with the types of values we're trying to instill amongst our employees. And it's a great project to be able to remind and point to that for folks as we work forward with our partners. Again, we've already taken some steps. Of course, there are council approvals that will come along the way in certain areas, but where we are finding wins that come at the administrative level, we're just doing it. We're moving, but we'll come back and inform council of those things. But there will probably be some steps where we'll want council to acknowledge or ratify some of our timeline guarantees. We're going to come back with some resource considerations to the council, but this will be an iterative process. But we have our sleeves rolled up, and we're working hard in the space and already making moves. But there's many more moves to make. With that, we're happy to have some questions and discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg, Mr. Howland, and staff. And now we'll go to the public for comment. Mr. Turnipseed.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm Michael Turnipseed. I represent the Kern County Taxpayers Association. It pays to see the program first before you talk. Obviously, all this is very, very important to the future of the community. We looked at economic development in a changing world 8 years ago when oil started to have its problems, and I didn't know much about economic development, so I recruited Barry Hibbard to our board. For the last 8 years, we've been working together, and I think it's been 3 or 4 years that we've been pounding the idea that we have to get the permitting process fixed, because Barry tells lots of stories of examples. In the new world of economic development, the first guy in, if he's happy and says, I had a great experience, the next guy's coming, and the third guy's coming. But if he goes, it was okay, they're not going to come and invest $25, $30, $40, $50 million. And I think that is where the real key and where this is all going is nothing is more important to your economic development, the B3K being successful, and Bakersfield and Kern County reestablishing its economy post oil decline and ag decline because of water issues and other things. And you're on the right step. And an article last week in the LA Times stated they did a survey. 1/3 of the people in LA in Orange County that replied to the survey or were surveyed said, we're moving because we can no longer afford to live in Orange County. We're inexpensive, especially with telecommuting. If we're not taking every advantage of that, and it's not just the people that live there, it's the small businesses that are trying to survive in that environment. If we don't, the opportunity's here, we better take care of it.
Thank you, Mr. Turnipseed. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Dave Demahowski.
And Madam Clerk, for the record, Councilmember Arias entered at 4:23. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. Dave Demahowski with the Home Builders Association of Kern County. Just wanted to thank your staff for a great overview. We're very interested in the organizational changes that may be required to implement the one-stop permitting process. But our board of directors had a discussion about your efforts to improve the permit streamlining of the city, and we're strongly supportive of your efforts here. We do appreciate it. I think it's all about creating a culture of helpfulness within the city. I think that's essentially what your staff has said, and we look forward to partnering with you on that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And next speaker, please.
Blaine Neptune.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I want to thank and reiterate what Jeff said and the city staff for their efforts with this initiative, and thank Gary and the city manager's office for including the development community. I support everything I've heard. I think it's great. Streamlining is very important. Currently, it takes about 6 to 9 months to process the tentative map and 9 to 12 months to get improvement plans approved. My office currently has 35 subdivisions in design and in development, which comprises about 5,000 residential lots. The number one question I get from developers and clients is, how long until I get this approved? How long before I get comments back? and I can just answer what it takes me to do the design, but not how long I get it back. So knocking off a month on a tentative map, knocking off a month or two on improvement plans will greatly help this process. I support a one-stop shop, and I think it'll be great. I will say one thing, this is all on the front end and it's fantastic. One thing the city should look at too is on the back end. Right now there's a lot of issues that home builders are having getting occupancy permits based on a notice of completion for a subdivision. I think we need to look at doing partial occupancies, let people move in before they, a sidewalk is cracked or fixed or minor little issues. But all in all, I appreciate the city's effort. It's been a fantastic opportunity to work with the staff on this, and I'll look forward to bringing on those 5,000 lots. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neptune. Madam Clerk, are there any other public speakers?
Mayor, that was the last speaker.
Thank you very much. And to all of you developers, thank you so much. Government does not generate economic development primarily. It's all of you out there, and we really appreciate your input. Mr. Turnipseed, you mentioned Mr. Barry Hibbard, and we've heard many times from him about our inability as a city to control everything, but the one thing that we can control is that permitting process. So thank you all for your input, staff. Thank you so much. And now we'll go to the council for comment. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, thank you, staff. Thank you for hearing the cries of the city council and certainly our developer community and getting right on this. And certainly this is a top priority for the city council. And we've said it over and over and over and over and over again. And it's very exciting to see a lot of this progress moving forward. So my hat's off to all of the key staff who have been part of this effort for so long. I just want to echo some comments. I love the timeline guarantees. That was a referral that I had made a while back. I love to see us establishing guarantees for our developer community so that they can have a sense of what it would take, what time it will take. That, to me, is transparency. I love the idea of these feedback loops, the fact that through this process, we will continue to hear from the developer community, all of our applicants, so that we can continue to improve our process, not just one time, but continue it continuously in perpetuity. And I love the idea of the central development office, the one-stop shop. It's something we have discussed several times, time and time again. I can't wait to get that shop up and running. I know that there are some challenges, but I'm certain that with the staff that we have at City Hall, that we can push through those challenges and we can get that one-stop shop up and running sooner than later. And we'll all be there to celebrate. Hopefully Mayor Go will cut a ceremonial ribbon of this one-stop shop.
We're going to do that.
Just a couple of comments. One is I wrote, and Jeff, I love the fact that you said time is money, because I wrote, that was my first comment right here. And this is every time this topic comes up, I always mention time is money. And those folks that I represent in downtown and central Bakersfield, they communicate that very clearly. Time is money. And so as much as we continue to work and improve our processes, I think there's also an improvement in the culture within the city. I love the fact that several folks have commented that they can call Paul, they can call Phil, and we can work with them directly. That's wonderful, and I hope that we can continue that. But my hope really is that anyone who has an issue can talk to anyone up and down the chain of command and get just as much help. And that customer service quality is exceptional up and down the system and throughout the organization. And for me, this is about getting to yes, really changing the culture from having folks within City Hall who are sort of the gatekeeper for certain code or compliance issues, to really being a partner in development and really trying to change the narrative within the city so that folks feel like they're really a partner in development, and that they can really understand, first and foremost, start with understanding the needs and the goals of the applicant, and they can treat them more like a customer as opposed to as opposed to penalizing them for mistakes or missing information or whatnot. That's a different shift, and I'm hoping that we can work towards that through training. Mr. Clay, can you speak to some of that?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor and Mayor and Council. I would acknowledge we've actually done a couple of trainings already, and so there's either good news and bad news in that. The good news is we're working on it. The bad news is there's still work to be done, despite having done some of those trainings. But we know that culture is something that does take time, and sometimes it's not even just, it's not necessarily a willingness or unwillingness. It's, that's sort of sinking into, almost the, not just the mind, but the soul of the individuals to really just have that be their mindset all the time, ongoing. And also, in some instances, providing, more and more tools and examples to those individuals of what does success really look like. So a year ago, we held a customer service workshop that was internal to the city that we had some of our best experts on customer service in the city do a workshop with staff. We also brought out, as Gary had mentioned, we have a government innovation and improvement coach, Nick Kittle, who has worked with our team twice now. And one of those was specifically a customer service workshop that was targeted just to those individuals who are in the permit review process. But we have Nick Kittle on retainer to bring back. We want to create some appropriate, we think, sort of time windows where we're going to provide this training, keep doing internal trainings, work on those issues, and have them come back at whether that's a quarterly or a 6-month type of frequency. But we're going to continue to provide those types of trainings that are really focused on solutions-oriented, customer-friendly. How do we, get to yes? And I will say, it is important to make sure that yes is, again, it's within legal parameters, it's within, safety codes, but find a way to get to the yes.
Absolutely, it has to be within all of those things. I just think the weight has been always towards being more punitive than it has been trying to be helpful and moving projects forward. And I want us to shift our weight towards trying to be helpful as much as possible. And really, I think that starts with having a clear understanding of what the goals are, what the real needs are of the applicant, because that may not be articulated in the application clearly, or and so being able to first understand that and having our staff, our teams, really empowered to be more proactive in identifying those needs and being helpful early on. I have another question, and then I'll be done. It's related to the business success team. What authority does the team really have to give direction across departments in order to move applications forward?
That's a good question, Vice Mayor. I think as the context to that answer, we do recognize that, for example, the city engineer, has some ultimate sign off on certain things, and also the chief building official has ultimate sign off on certain things. And so I will acknowledge that we have not given the business success team necessarily, formal authority to say this is, that's, you have to do it that way. But they are both facilitators and advocates for those project proponents. They have the authority to bring up issues to department heads. They have authority to bring up issues to myself, where we, maybe have some roadblocks or sticking points. And they also have the authority to, obviously, at other levels, bring that up to, reviewers, supervisors, to say, help us understand what really is the issue here. And this is what we're hearing from our folks, and can we get some clarity? Can we get some timelines for those individuals? And so they're really an ombudsman and a facilitator more than having formal authority to make those decision calls.
Thank you.
Councilmember Freeman. Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, staff and industry representatives. I think we have the right concepts. I think we have the right goals. I think we have the right spirit. I would say that more than 6 months to get a tentative map approved is not acceptable. As a Bakersfield state, it might be in LA, but no one will regard us as business friendly and want to come here. If they start hearing it takes longer. To record your map, improvement plans, 9 months. It shouldn't take longer than that. But I guess the only thing I would really encourage, because you may already be doing it, is that every project, every single application of the city needs to be reviewed at least every 2 weeks. We used to do staff meetings because we had a lot of projects all over the country to go, and they might be many hours long. But all the people have to be at the table who are responsible for every single step of that process. Did this get done this week or not? And why didn't it? And the next person, the next, and the next. Every single department, every single project, meticulously gone over, because, and with a name by the responsibility. If there isn't a name by, okay, you were supposed to get the grading permit reviewed this week. What happened? Well, pretty soon you find out, well, the plans were dirty. Well, did you get back to the developer? I mean, you're supposed to solve problems. But if the individuals aren't held accountable at our end for solving the problems, not the builder, it's our job to make sure that project was done in 6 months or 9 months. It's our responsibility as a city, or as Mr. Turnipseed said, we don't get economic activity, we don't create jobs, we don't get taxes. We have to take the responsibility, and we have to have names on every single thing. And part of it is if we have meticulous reviews, you got to get into the nitty gritty. But the boss has to do that, or if we're so big, he's got assistant bosses, but everything has to be reviewed constantly. Or those steps don't get taken, and it takes 12 months instead of 6. Because we didn't solve the problem right up. You find out real quick if it isn't happening. So I just say, the process has to, it may sound old-fashioned, that you go over everything with every people constantly, and there's goals and the names by everything, but that's the way things get done. It is the old-fashioned way. So I would encourage you that it's management that gets it done. If the system doesn't manage itself, it's individuals being responsible for steps, and so we solve the problem and we see the bottleneck. And that includes the fire department sitting at the table and the police department sitting at the table. They're all sitting in the same room every 2 weeks. Why didn't you get the plans back from the fire department? Why didn't they get it done? Somebody's name's on that, and heads roll when it doesn't get done. It's a serious process. Those aren't fun meetings. We didn't used to have happy meetings. They'd go many hours, and some people, got put on the spot when things didn't get done. But you have to have somebody responsible for their stage, that it has to get done within the time assigned, or those 15 steps never get done. So it doesn't get done in 6 months. So I'd encourage you to, if you're doing it, keep doing it. If you're not, look into it, because it's personal management in the end that makes all this stuff happen. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Freeman. Councilmember Gray.
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. First of all, I want to thank all you developers and builders to come and to speak to us and be part of the process, because there's no way we can make corrections if we don't know what to correct, and you all have been a vital part of that. When I first came on the council 3.5 years ago, the permitting process was something that was bugging me, and I had meetings with development with small builders. I speak to you today not as a city councilwoman, but as a small business owner who built homes and had a very successful remodeling company here in Bakersfield for 41 years. And so I have a little bit more experience, but not as a developer. So today what I heard was the development process is, number one. We've got to get new development in to be able to grow our city. And I appreciate that, Troy, the investment your company has made in Bakersfield, with over 500 people going to be hired in your company, or more. That's amazing. So thank you for coming and sharing. But I think I'm going to be speaking on behalf of the small builder in Bakersfield, the remodeler, the ones that's doing the one-off, the ones that are replacing air conditioning units and doing remodeling kitchen and bath like we did at Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen. Those are the builders, contractors that I'm speaking on behalf of today, because I believe that our department, building department, needs to be well balanced. That no matter if you're a small builder like we were, or a remodeler, or you're a large developer, we're all part of this city. We're all making a difference. And whether we're holding up 5,000 homes, or a woman that, excuse me, has been dreamed of her new kitchen for 25 years, and now we're holding that up because, you know, we can't get it done. It's important that we're a well-balanced building department. So I want to, excuse me, I want to commend the culture that you all are working on, Mr. Burns, Mr. Clegg, that you're really building this company culture. We had a written code of values in our business, and superior customer service was at the top of the list. And we've got to provide superior customer service. But below that was that we've got to re-earn our positions every day in every way. And just because XYZ developers had a great relationship and a great experience doesn't mean that ABC will, unless we understand every time a new developer, a new contractor, whether small or large, steps up to that desk or puts that application in online, that they're important too. And building that company culture where accountability, as my colleague, Councilmember Freeman, has spoke of, that's extremely important. So that's re-earning our position every day in every way. And it's kind of an easy thing to think about. I want to remind you that at one time, a small contractor could go and get a permit right at the desk, over-the-counter service. I want to remind you, because Mr. Burns and I have had meetings with some of these gentlemen that don't have a staff. You know, I had an office manager that could manage some of this. But a lot of these builders, they don't have a staff. They're contractors. They know how to use a hammer. They're electricians. They're plumbers. They don't know technology. They don't know how to get on the internet and start working through the process. So I would encourage the building department that you keep those people in mind, that you are able to work with those that don't have staff to be able to support their effort. Because again, time is money, and they need to be able to get right on those projects. So I'm just excited that you all have taken this so seriously, that what I've seen today I'm thrilled with. It sounds to me like the developers out in the audience are thrilled with it. And we are just going to keep getting better. Like Mr. Hallen said, we're just going to keep getting better day by day, building on what we're doing. And I'm amazed at how much progress we have made as a city. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Gray. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, staff. I, like Councilmember Freeman, was on the other side for 30 plus years as an engineer and developer and builder. And Mr. Turnipseed mentioned, 3 or 4 years he's been talking about it. Well, I've been talking about it for 30 years, and 12 years I've been on the council. A lot of good direction, I guess, specifically the one-stop shop. Everybody says, yeah, and we've talked about that for a few years now, and we got to get past yeah, and actually make it happen. The tentative map timing, I will say, when I first started processing tentative maps in the city of Bakersfield, they had a calendar. If you got to the planning department before 5 o'clock, you turned in, took your check, you'd get a date, 45 to 60 days, you go to planning commission. And I know we're a lot bigger now and slower, but again, I agree, 6 to 9 months for a tentative map. 3 to 4 months is very doable. We're
we're continuing development, the sewer is there, the water there, the streets are there, and we exit. The conditions are the same every time. It doesn't make sense that it takes 6 months to get a tender map. And I would agree on the other side also that Blaine Neptune mentioned on the notice of completion. And when I developed in the county for years, they would give you notice of completion forever while you were working out the punch list. And, you know, you've got, the city has the letter of credit. There's no financial risk for the city. And as long as you know, there's no health and safety issues, you know, the street's paved, the drainage is in, and you're working on punch items, then you should be able to move people in. So the culture of helpfulness, the culture of how we make it happen. I know it takes time, but anxious to get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion was approved with Councilmember Core absent.
Thank you. And thank you again to all of you. Staff, thank you also. We stand adjourned at 4:50, and we'll reconvene. We'll start the next meeting at 5:15.
Welcome to the Bakersfield City Council meeting. This television broadcast is brought to you by the local cable companies, the County of Kern, and the City of Bakersfield. You can watch the rebroadcast of this meeting Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 10 a.m., and the following Wednesday at 7 p.m. You can download the agenda for this meeting at www.bakersfieldcity.us. Presiding over this evening's meeting, the Honorable Mayor Karen K. Go.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to call to order the 5:15 regular City Council meeting of August 28th, 2024. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez. Councilmember Arias.
Here.
Councilmember Weir.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
I'm here.
Councilmember Freeman. Here. Councilmember Gray.
Here.
And Councilmember Core.
Thank you. Welcome to all of you, and we are very happy that you're here to engage in the civic process. We have the pleasure tonight of having Pastor Letty Stepp, the lead pastor of Bakersfield Christian Church, to offer the invocation. Pastor Stepp and her congregation have been very, very involved in community service and community outreach. They host numerous events on their campus, and we're just so grateful for your leadership, Pastor. And then following the invocation, Eknor Singh, who is a junior at Stockdale High, will lead us in the pledge. Eknor is the first place winner in an international public speaking and debate competition. He competed in a competition hosted by the Sikh Youth Alliance of North America in Dallas, Texas. He has a 4.2 GPA. He's played JV basketball, run cross country for Stockdale, and he's on the Stockdale High debate and forensics team. Would you all please stand?
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come before you, Lord, and just recognizing of who you are, the mighty God, the creator of everything, Lord, and that's why we exist here, Heavenly Father. We thank you so much, Lord. Now we bring petitions unto you, Lord. We bring our council meeting, Heavenly Father. We bring our city of Bakersfield and our community, Lord, that we ask that you be with each one of them, Lord, that our community will come together, Lord, and help each other, Heavenly Father, and that we continue to watch over our children that they need, Lord, protection, Lord. Lord, we thank you for Karen Go, our mayor, Lord, that you continue to give her wisdom, discernment, and knowledge, Lord, and to be able to just deal with everything that comes before her and all of them that are here in her staff, Lord. We thank you for them. Lord, that everything that we do, Lord, we do it for you, and we help the community, and that everyone would just continue to help each other, encourage each other in loving and caring. And we thank you for our servicemen all over the world, Lord. They're serving for our world and all the community and all thy people, Lord. And we thank you for this. And Lord, most of all, we thank you because of who you are. And everything that we do, we want you to bless everything. Bless all thy hands that do all the work, Lord. Bless all thy feet that walk everywhere, Heavenly Father. And we thank you for Bakersfield, that we can come together and do mighty works for you and for all and all of us, Heavenly Father. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Everybody place your right hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated, and thank you so much, Pastor Stepp. Eknor, if you just stay up there. Colleagues, we have an international winner here, and we are so pleased to be able to celebrate Eknor representing Bakersfield in an international competition among Sikh youth. It's an international competition. Bakersfield really hasn't, I haven't seen notice that Bakersfield has captured first place, maybe sometime way back, but we are proud to have ECNOR representing us, capturing first place for public speaking and debate in this international competition. ECNOR, it is my honor to be able to present to you the Mayor's Medal. And today we also have Dr. Manbir Singh, who's the regional representative for the association that sponsored this. And Doctor, thank you so much for being here. And then we have ECNOR's father. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing ECNOR with us. Let's give it up again for ECNOR.
Respected Mayor and City Council, my name is Dr. Manbir Singh. I'm the convener of this National Children's Youth Program for the Bakersfield from last 25 years. We started this program in 1999, where we have taken the children up to the age of 6 to 22 and given them different books to read. And they are asked to answer 3 questions and write them down or remember them and speak. We are doing it from many years, and this year we had 6 of our local children. They were selected from Bakersfield to go to the national conference that took place in Dallas, Texas. And in that conference, there were children from different areas of Canada and America. They came. And Iknur Singh, the one you have just noticed that he was here, he stood number 1 in the entire conference between Canadian and American children. And this was first time, like Mayor said, it happened that our youth from the Bakersfield won the prize number 1. And we are very proud of it. And I'm so happy that City Council has decided to recognize him today. Also, during this conference, they have decided that the next year, they allowed us to host the program next year right here in Bakersfield. So we are expecting about 80 to 100 young youth coming to Bakersfield with their parents and family. So I'm expecting about 300 people will be here next year in the first week of August. So we'll have a lot of excitement about it. We are going to host it and run the program. So I'm very excited about things happening for our Bakersfield. I think these youth who participate, in my opinion, from last 25 years, I've seen that the 6-year-old child participating every year, most of them are somewhere today. Some of them are doctors, some of them are practicing attorneys, and one of them is already Assemblywoman, Jasmeet Bains, and she was one of our student participants. So I think the future is bright. If they keep doing it, they become better orator. They communicate very well. They're doing very well in their studies also. So it's a win-win situation. And I hope that Iknur and other children, there's a Akash Deep Kaur here also. Are you here? Can you stand up?
Dr. Singh,
She's
thank you
also
so
here.
much for your leadership. We really very much appreciate it. There are many friends of yours, Eknor. You have quite a fan club, so congratulations. Doctor, we are just so grateful that you have led Bakersfield to be recognized on an international level. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Here are a few guidelines to help our meeting run smoothly. We request that you turn off your phones. Please be courteous in the use of cameras and videos. For safety reasons and as a courtesy to others, no signs are allowed in the council chamber or in the lobby. Applause is allowed during the presentations portion of the meeting, but not during other portions of the meeting. Everyone in attendance is expected to adhere to the rules of decorum established by resolution of the City Council. Failure to abide by the city's rules of decorum, including any disruptive disruptive behavior that interferes with our ability to have an orderly and efficient meeting prevents the City Council from conducting the business of the city. Consider this a first warning to everyone in attendance that conduct that disrupts the meeting may result in your removal from the meeting and/or the chambers being cleared. Behavior that disrupts the meeting includes repetitive statements, shouting, interrupting staff or presenters during the meeting, speaking out of turn, outbursts from the audience, and surpassing the 2-minute time limit. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Public statements.
Thank you. In keeping with Council's resolution, public statements are now received at different times depending on the item. I will call on the City Clerk to call for public statements at the appropriate time, so please listen carefully for the correct time to speak. If you wish to make a public statement, please fill out a public speaker card and place it in the tray on the counter next to the speaker podium. We ask that you mark whether you're here to speak on an item listed on tonight's agenda or in a matter not on the agenda. Speakers who do not identify a specific agenda item will be presumed speakers for the non-agenda portion of the public statements. If you're here to speak on an item not listed on the meeting agenda, you will be called first to speak. Statements are given a 2-minute time limit per speaker, 20 minutes total for all non-agenda public statements. If you're here to speak on an item listed on the agenda, I will call for you at a later time, so please listen carefully. If public statements become disruptive and I have to clear the chambers to regain order of the meeting, you will be called in one at a time to provide your public statement when your item is called. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items not listed on the agenda?
Mayor Go, we've received 4 speaker cards.
Thank you. And would you please call those at this time?
Nathaniel Catalan, followed by Zach Griffin, then Cecilia and Carmen.
Thank you. Mr. Catalan? Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and everyone. My name is Nathan Catalan. I'm a freshman at Garces Memorial High School, and I'm interested in serving in the city's youth commission. Allow me to tell you about myself. I'm a Boy Scout of Troop 125 and have been actively involved in multiple community service projects. Additionally, I've taken leadership roles in the past at my previous school, St. Francis, and at my church, St. Francis Church. I've been part of many successes during my middle school years, and now that I'm a high schooler, I'm prepared to help tackle the issues that pertain to the youth of this city. If appointed to the commission, I will do my best to aid the community. I'm dedicated, resourceful, and prudent. I hope that you will consider me for the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. And next speaker, please.
Zach Griffin.
I want to be a freshman again. Mayor Go,
please
council
introduce
members, I am Zach Griffin, Zachary Griffin, special education teacher. Today I have come before the council and I apologize for not coming years ago. I stopped working at Standard School District, and so I don't usually use the Garces Circle as much as I had for the 10 years previous. The other day I was coming back from riding Breckenridge, so I was about 4.5 hours into my ride, and I came into the newly designed Garces Circle. And without mincing words, it's a terrible design. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go when the bike lane ends into the curb. I'm curious who would be responsible for that. In poking around, I spoke to some people in Public Works, and they mentioned to me that somehow the bikes were supposed to go up onto the sidewalk, which I thought was contradictory to our no sidewalk bicycles in downtown, which has been the norm. So I would love to know what would it cost to destroy a very wonderful thoroughfare like the Garces Circle. We've hedged it down to single lanes. Again, I would love to invite any of the council members or any of the Public Works staff to come and ride it with me during peak hours, and it makes no sense. I'm struggling to understand. I've been living in this community since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and I'm baffled as to the design. In speaking with some people within the Public Works Department, this was 60% done 2 years ago. I would love to see what input we got from those that have relative experience. I've been racing and riding bikes since I was, 8 years old, and commuting in this community. I would love to know Councilman Gonzalez or Mr. Smith's sort of take on these things, and how we sort of got to a point where we don't provide at least some sort of insight before we spend, millions of dollars. And so with that, I'm going to be at the multimodal subcommittee meeting here next month, and I would love to have somebody maybe answer those questions for me, provide me for some direction. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Griffin, thank you for your comments. Mr. Myers, correct me if I'm wrong. This is
You can go ahead and sit down.
This is a
Thank you.
Caltrans project.
Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, this was the Garza Circle was a Caltrans project along with some work with the city where our right-of-way began and their right-of-way began. So there was some joint collaboration between the city and Caltrans.
So the actual circle is the responsibility of?
I don't have an answer for that right now.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Weir. Okay. Thank you. And now, Madam Clerk, next speaker, I believe one has already spoken, so.
Cecilia?
Thank you. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Cecilia Marcial. I am standing here today as a healthcare worker for Palestine. It is my moral and professional obligation to stand against injustice anywhere, to make sure that the City Council of Bakersfield does not forget that Gaza is a public health emergency, that the Zionist genocidal forces this chamber supports and funds is refusing to allow public health measures in Gaza. Blood is on your hands. The blood of women, infants, and children. Your silence is an act of political violence. You condemn innocent beings to murder, rape, and starvation so that you can line your pockets with blood money. Is ignoring Palestinians in our community participating in the civic process? Do you think that ignoring our concerns is building community? In closing, I'd just like to pray for Palestine, for the martyrs, and for the Intifada. O Mateo, please protect the innocent from the bloodlust of those in power. Don Unseen, hold our families in Palestine when no one will hold them. Care for their children and give them a safe place to rest. May you give strength to the Intifada. O Mateo.
Thank you, Cecilia. Next speaker, please.
Carmen?
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hello. This is Christian Gray, Patty Gray's son. He was assaulting people in front of City Hall, and nothing has been done about it. Nothing. Silence from everybody. If anyone else were to get assaulted in front of City Hall, something would have happened to them already. On March 27th, a black cat wandered into a green field at the Sheriff's Pistol Range in Kern County. 2 deputies in tactical gear spotted the cat, stalked it, and shot it, along with a 3rd deputy who, according to a witness, didn't draw his gun. The group locked on the cat as it writhed in pain and died. Now all these people are back on the job. The woman who took the video of the incident said, "If they treat a little animal with such disrespect, what in the world are they doing with people?" The deputies were never charged under the California Penal Code Section 597, which calls for a prison term of up to 3 years for maliciously and intentionally killing an animal. Animal cruelty is a predictor of current and future violence, including crimes of assault, rape, murder, arson, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. This is from the American Journal of Family Law, 32, number 3. Early signs of sociopathic behavior may include cruelty to animals. Some characteristics of people who abuse animals include lack of empathy, need for power and control, targeting hopeless and defenseless animals, feeling a rush after abusing and killing an animal, being consistently irresponsible, not showing remorse, getting into fights or assaults, lying about behaviors. These are the people that are supposedly protecting the public.
Next speaker, please.
Nyla Hogan.
Welcome.
Good evening, council
Please
members.
introduce yourself.
My name is Nyla Hogan, and I am the Executive Director of Y Empowerment, otherwise known as Youth Empowerment. And I am here today with some of our peer mentors, and we're here to talk about a program that we have. At Y Empowerment, we have a lot of youth programs, but one of the ones that is most special to my heart is our peer-to-peer mentoring program. Our peer-to-peer mentoring program, the goal is to teach youth in Kern County how to mentor other youth within their school. So they are educated in terms of domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, suicide, and all kinds of other things that children, youth, 11, all the way up to age 22 are facing. And so we're here now to ask for your support and tell you about a story of a local teen named Allie. Alexandria was a teen who went to very numerous different schools in Kern County, and unfortunately, she slipped through the cracks. She was a victim of domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and a number of other issues that ultimately led to her death later in life. And our goal as Y Empowerment, my goal as who I am as a person is preventive measures within our county. And this is what we want to bring. And we're asking for your support and helping this spread to all of our schools so we can get middle schools, we can get junior highs, we can get high schools. And so this program could be implemented and we can help stop something that doesn't need to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hogan, and thank you also for serving your other role. Ms. Hogan is Mrs. Bakersfield. She was this morning, she represented her team, her court, at the 100th birthday of a veteran, and we appreciate your always honoring our veterans, too. Thank you.
Very much.
Next speaker, please.
Preston Hogan.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
My name's Preston Hogan, and I'm with the youth and I'm with Y Empowerment, and I'm here to talk about Allie and her story. And it comes to a critical need, and wait, hold on. This story hits close to home, and it brings attention to critical need for peer teen mentoring in our schools. Allie was a Bakersfield teen whose life was tragically marked by domestic violence, child abuse, and the harsh realities of a teen dating violence. Allie's story is not an isolated case to many of our peers. Many of our peers are suffering in silence, facing abuse at home, at schools, and their relationships. Peer mentoring can be a powerful tool to help those teens that are in need. By providing support system within schools, we can create a safe place for students to share their experience and receive guidance for their problems that they need. And for those who understand, we ask for your support and implementing peer mentoring programs that will educate, support, and empower our youth.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Your
encouraging
time is up. Can you bring your comments to a close, please?
Yeah.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Sophia, followed by Jazzy.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Honorable members of the council, I am Sofia Carrillo, and today I stand before you to call for action against the rising issues of domestic violence, child abuse, and teen dating violence in Bakersfield. Allie, a young teen from our community, suffered immensely due to abuse and ultimately lost her life in a tragic accident. Her story is a stark reminder of the urgent needs for support systems for our youth. Peer mentoring programs can play a crucial role in providing that support. By educating teens about the abuse and equipping them with the tools to help each other, we can create a network of support that extends beyond the classroom. We need your backing to implement these programs and ensure they are accessible to all students across Kern County. Together, we could build a brighter, safer future for our young people. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Sophia. Next speaker, please.
Jazzy.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself. Move the microphone just up a little bit. Thank you, Jazzy.
Hi, my name is Jaslyn Wallace, and I'm here to advocate for the implementation of peer mentoring. Programs in our schools address the issues of domestic violence, child abuse, and teen dating violence. Ali's story is a heartbreaking example of what many teens in Bakersfield face daily. She experienced unimaginable hardships and didn't have the support she needed. We can change this narrative by building a support community within our schools. Peer mentoring can provide a safe space for students to share their experiences and receive help from their peers. With your support, we can fund these programs and train students to become mentors, ensuring that no one has to suffer in silence. Let's work together to create a safer, more supportive environment for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. And to all our youth empowerment youth who spoke today, thank you so much. It's not easy to come up here, and thank you for highlighting a very important topic. Thank you. Madam Clerk, next segment, please.
Agenda item, public statements.
Thank you. We'll now move to the public statements listed under the agenda. If you're here to speak on items listed under consent calendar, item 6, or appointments, item 7A, your time to speak is now. Again, each speaker is given a 2-minute time limit. Each agenda item is limited to 20 minutes total. The consent calendar as a whole constitutes one agenda item. If you're here to speak on deferred business item 11A, now is not the time to speak. You'll be given an opportunity to speak when those items are called later in the meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have public speakers regarding items listed under consent calendar item 6 or appointments item 7A?
Yes, Mayor, we have received 5 speaker cards.
Go ahead and call them, please.
The first speaker is Carter Beardsley, followed by Tanvi Tapale.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. My name is Carter Beardsley, and I am up for reappointment tonight for our recently renovated Bakersfield Youth Commission. I'm here to express
Carter, would you move the mic just a little? Thank you.
My bad. I'm here to express to you all why I'm hoping to serve for this remaining year of high school. As you all know, this past year has been nothing short of monumental for our Youth Commission. A year ago, we were meeting without a budget just across the street in a conference room, drawing little to no attention, and I am very proud to say that an initiative that I helped to spearhead has led to us now having a bigger sense of purpose. We now meet in here, and this will be the first year that we have a budget. Should I have the opportunity to be reappointed this year, I'm eager to take all of the work that we've done this past year and continue it on and serve the youth of Bakersfield in a more impactful fashion than we've seen before. Thank you all again for your support for our commission this past year. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Beardsley. Next speaker, please. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tanvi Thalapalli, and I stand before you today to seek reappointment for the Youth Commission. Serving on this commission has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, and I'm eager to continue contributing to the work we have begun. First and foremost, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to those who have made the Youth Commission so meaningful. Hannah Rossica, April Tover, and Nathan Gutierrez. Their unwavering support and guidance has been invaluable, and they fostered a space where we as youth commissioners could explore, challenge, and grow. And speaking of my youth commissioners, I cannot emphasize enough how much I've learned from each of you. Together we have shared ideas, debated issues, and worked tirelessly to try to create meaningful change in our community for the youth. As I reflect on our time together, I'm particularly proud of our final project, which was focused on promoting extracurricular activities for the youth in Bakersfield. We recognize the importance of providing opportunities to young people to engage in activities that go beyond the classroom. Whether it's sports, arts, or community service, these activities can enrich the life of thousands of youth in Bakersfield. And I believe we have only just begun to scratch the surface of what we can achieve. In seeking reappointment, I bring with me the experience, the lessons, and the passion from my time on this commission. I'm committed to continuing our work, building on our successes, and tackling new challenges with the same energy and dedication. I'm confident that together, we can make an even greater impact in this coming term. Thank you for considering my request for reappointment. It would be an honor to continue serving my community and working alongside such inspiring individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Talapalli. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Sorry, Mayor, that's the last speaker.
Oh, thank you. And next item, please.
Consent calendar items 6A through 6I for approval.
Does any member wish to recuse themselves from any item on the consent calendar? Seeing none, Council Member Gray requested that we pull item 6D2 for separate consideration tonight, and with that, I will move acceptance of all remaining items.
Thank you. You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion was approved with Councilmember Kaur absent.
Thank you. And now, Councilmember Gray, item 6D2.
Well, good evening, everyone. We appreciate you coming tonight. And I'm just so blessed to hear all these young people that are willing to step up to a mic and speak. At your age, I would take an F before I'd ever step up and speak to anybody. So I appreciate that. You're doing a great job. Good job. I wanted to pull this item tonight just to kind of bring some clarity to it because I didn't quite understand it myself until I ran through it with our city manager. But I do have some concern over it. So this item will give us, and we're talking about exempt, excuse me, Christian, speak that for me.
The State Surplus Land Act exemption.
Thank you. So we're talking about this item that gives us the ability to sell surplus land to a developer and will satisfy the requirements of the state and federal funds used to purchase the property for commercial and or mixed usage. The property that we're talking about tonight, if all of you know where the Maya Theater is, across the street from that, there's an empty piece of property. It's been sitting there for some time. We've had some developers interested in it. But it has been set aside in our master plan for retail and entertainment. We have the Maya Theater there. We have other small businesses. We have McMurtry Pool, the Marriott Hotel. So it's a great place to have more of an entertainment hub there, and it will support those other businesses that are already in place. And that's a concern of mine, that we are going to support what's already started there. So my support for approving this resolution is to allow for a letter of intent for any potential developer. Right now we have the Cesar Chavez Foundation looking at that. They are legitimate developers to come in and develop that piece. But my concern is that we need to really make sure that we protect what the original plan was for that piece of property, for entertainment and food and so forth. I think any other usage of that property is going to take away again from those existing businesses. So that's what my concern is. So I will support this so that we can move forward on it, to be able to sell it. But I do move forward with the intent that we're going to protect it as what it is meant to be, and that is for entertainment and so forth. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve this resolution and support the original intent that this property was set aside for as laid out in our master plan.
Thank you, Councilmember Gray. We have a request to speak. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Gray, thank you so much for those comments and your support of this project. If I may provide also some additional context, I'm the City Council member representing this area, and have been committed to seeing a development on this site for the last 8 years, and have been working with city staff and with some of my colleagues on finding a developer for the last 8 years. And it has been a Herculean task. Trying to find the right developer. I think we've had a few interested, and then those deals sort of fell apart. And so I understand what our ideal is in terms of what we would like to see, but in all practical reality, some of the conversations I've had with the Cesar Chavez Foundation seem to be the most practical and the most worthwhile, and that is a mixed-use development site where we see some housing elements as well as some commercial retail space. And so, I'd love to have a conversation with you outside of this meeting so we can talk about some of the history and some of the real challenges with this site in particular. But I think that the vision for the overall downtown is to see a very mixed use district where we have people who are living, working, playing, worshiping downtown. And I think this project will help us get there.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I was on the council when they wanted to build an office building on that property, and I, at the time, fought hard for what Councilperson Gray is talking about, that, it was designed as entertainment and should stay entertainment and not an office building. And I feel that we still should have the entertainment retail. I don't have a problem with mixed use if we have what we wanted in the beginning plus housing, and that's great. Then we're getting a plus. But that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion was approved with Councilmember Corr absent.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is 7A, appointments, the 2024-2025 Youth Commission appointments. We've received the following applications from Nathaniel Catalan, Thomas Woods, Tanvi Tapali, Guneet Kaur, Carter Birdsley, Mia Clifford, Rachel Sun, Japji Kaur, Caitlin Ocampo, Jagrady Jaw, and Naomi Worthy.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. These appointments are citywide, therefore no ballots are required. I will call on each council member for their nomination of a regular youth commission member, and then I'll call on each council member for their nomination of an alternate youth commission member. The mayor's regular member position has already been filled by the incumbent. So at this point, council members, I'm going to call on each of you if you would nominate your regular appointee, and then we'll move on to the alternates. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight it's my honor to nominate Mr. Carter Beardsley as my appointee.
Thank you. Councilmember Weir.
Thank you, Mayor. I nominate Nathaniel Catalan.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
Well, Mr. Arias stole my nomination, so I'm going to have to go back and look.
Okay, we'll come back around to you, or you can delay. Vice Mayor?
Tonight, it's my honor to appoint Mia Clifford as the Ward 2 appointee to the Youth Commission.
Thank you. And Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's my honor to reappoint Tanvi Thalapalli as the Ward 5 Youth Counselor. All my spies say she's been doing a great job, so I think we need to have her there for another year at least.
Thank you. Councilmember Gray?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no appointment at this time.
Thank you. And Councilmember Smith, do you want to make an appointment at this time, or would you like to hold off?
I'm good. I will make Caitlin Ocampo, who was the alternate, my regular appointee.
Okay. All right. So for regulars, we have our nominations. Vice Mayor, motion?
Motion to approve.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion was approved with Councilmember Kaur absent.
Thank you. So thank you to Mr. Beardsley, Mr. Catalan, Ms. Ocampo, Ms. Clifford, and Ms. Talapalli for your willingness to serve. Now, okay, and now we're going to go to our alternates. I've chosen not to nominate a candidate for the mayor's alternate position tonight, and so I am going to call on Councilmember Weir if you wish to nominate an alternate.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to...
I'm sorry, Arias. Sorry, I messed up. I looked right at him. Or you could take turns. Go ahead, Councilmember Weir. We'll go out of order.
For sure?
For sure.
Okay.
That was my mistake.
I nominate Rachel Sun.
Right? Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to nominate for the this position Miss Naomi Worthy.
Worthy. Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
They stole my, again.
All right.
I'll have to look at your sheet.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
And Vice Mayor?
Poor Councilman Smith. I'd like to appoint Thomas Woods as my appointee.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to appoint Jabshi Kaur from Independence High School as the alternate for Ward 5.
Thank you. And Councilmember Gray?
I have no appointment at this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith?
I'm going to have to wait.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And so you have a motion. Please cast your votes. Oh, we don't. Please move.
I move the recommendations by council members.
Thank you. You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion was approved with Councilmember Kaur absent.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Worthy, Mr. Catalan, Ms. Worthy, Ms. Sun, and Mr. Woods, and Ms. Kaur. We really appreciate your service. It takes a lot of work with these superstars, and they all have these amazing GPAs and many other activities, lots of extracurricular activities, and the willingness to serve. So thank you again very much. We appreciate it. Next item, please.
Deferred business, item 11A, review, accept, and adopt the Recreation and Parks Master Plan.
Thank you. Our city manager, thank you.
Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to provide some context on this item. We don't have a lengthy PowerPoint presentation on this item, and the reason for that is that as we did a workshop just last month on this topic, we should have taken action to adopt the plan at that time, but we had instead, prepared it as a informational item. There's not new information to present to council at this time. This, again, is a plan that has gone through a lengthy engagement process, and the reason for seeking council adoption of the plan is that, in a way to formalize, as well as we go and apply for grant applications, they're often looking for the legislative action that formalizes the plan. But this is, of course, a plan that's had lots of community feedback, council feedback along the way. Just to share a few other thoughts in context, to be responsive to some of the community interest around this plan and its adoption, I would point out that this is a strategy and planning document. It's not a budget. It's not an implementation plan. We're not locked in to do every project on this list. We're not locked in to fund it at the precise amount that it's listed at. Many of these projects, again, were suggested by the community, and so we've included those in the plan. And we would anticipate multiple different funding sources often for some of these. They may be grant funded. There's private funding anticipated for some of these projects, like the Truxton Lakes project. Again, this does not represent a city budget. You as a city council will appropriate funds on an annual basis into our capital improvement program with the available funds as you prioritize these many items that are in this plan. So it is a aspirational document. Do I expect that we're truly going to spend $200 million in the next 10 years? If we did, I would be happy. But I don't expect we're going to have that level of resources to do all these projects at that precise value in this precise time frame. So it is a planning document. Also, just to comment a little bit about the process, again, to reiterate, this has been a very long process. We've had multiple advisory groups that have been able to communicate and share thoughts and ideas. We've had multiple opportunities for public input, and we've been very happy to receive all of that public input. What we do as staff, just like we do, for example, with the city budget, is we take all of that collective input, and we try to put together a package that we think best balances the competing interests that have been raised by the community. And that's what we presented to your council at that workshop last month. It, again, is what we feel represents both the collective balancing of those community interests and what's also staff's recommendations and council input, and what we think is practical and feasible, again, as a aspirational planning document. I understand there's going to be some community interest on this topic, and I don't mean to preclude any of that public feedback. We're, again, happy to receive public feedback, but I would invite the council that if there is some desire or direction to provide additional public input time on this, to have some of that direction from council may be informative to those wanting to comment on this item as we enter the public comment period that's upcoming. Whether we delay this plan slightly, it's a 10-year plan. It's a big document with a lot of importance. A slight delay is not going to cause issues with our plan. That's okay. I would suggest, though, we don't want to necessarily remain in a holding pattern indefinitely, that there are often particular interests that may be expressed of, trying to include in the plan or revise in the plan. And I would suggest that, again, I think largely that feedback has been received and taken into consideration. But again, we're always happy to take feedback and council direction. But this item, again, tonight was intended to be fairly routine, but we will, again, take council direction on either moving forward or providing some additional time for public input.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding deferred business item 11A?
Yes, Mayor, we've received 3 speaker cards. The first one, Auntie Lehrer, Stephen Montgomery, and Rich O'Neill.
Thank you. Ms. Lehrer. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
So good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Antje Lauer. I'm a professor at CSUB, and I'm speaking here on behalf of CSUB, which is an important community member. And when I looked at the master plan today, I didn't have time to look into all the details because I was on vacation. But CSUB is not even listed as a community partner. And I think a lot of my colleagues would love to have a little more time to study that and bring in their expertise. So the Kern River Parkway and the cities and the parks of the city, there's a lot of potential for our experts in the field, wildlife ecologists, freshwater ecologists, conservation biologists, myself, and our students to contribute to it. And I'm just requesting a little more time to study and give some feedback on some of the items there. That's all I want to say. So overall, the plan looks good, but it could be improved in a couple of ways. So please give CSUB a little time to give some more feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lehrer. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Stephen Montgomery.
Good evening, Mayor Go, members of the council. I'm Stephen Montgomery, chair of the Kern Chapter CR Club. And on behalf of the club, I'd like to ask that we'd be giving at least 2 to 4 more weeks of time to consider the entire document. We'd like to, we think that we have some potential issues, and we hope to be making constructive observations as time goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Next speaker, please.
Rich O'Neill.
Welcome. Please
Good
introduce
evening,
yourself.
Mayor Go, City Council, staff. My name is Rich O'Neill, and tonight I speak on behalf of the Kern River Parkway Foundation. I too wasn't able to complete the 160 pages with an appropriate review, and so we're asking if the City Council would okay 2 to 4 weeks. Sounds good, to give us a little bit of time to get some constructive comments together. Overall, MIG did a good job, and city park staff did a good job of putting it together, but we've noted a couple of errors and some omissions in it that we'd like to correct before we accept it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
O'Neill.
you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers on this item?
Mayor, that's the last speaker.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, given this is a 10-year plan, a very long plan, I think we can afford personally 4 more weeks to get maximum input from our community. Definitely, the Parkway is a partner. The CSUB, absolutely, your partners in our community. The more comments we get, the more we can improve our plan. And I want everybody to think their voice was heard, that we had a constructive conversation. Sometimes it's just clarifying things that weren't expressed properly in the plan, and it's talking to each other to make people comfortable. So I'd like to make a motion that we continue this for, I guess it'd be 4 weeks if we have a council meeting in 4 weeks, and then my colleagues can comment have
Madam City Attorney, would you like to clarify
Can I
anything
not
on
make
that?
that motion?
Yes, Mayor. You can definitely make a motion to continue to a later date if you don't want to give a certain date so that we have time to meet with everyone and have enough process.
Go ahead and say it again for Councilmember Freeman. I think
Can I finish?
Sure. Uh-huh.
Thank you. Well, before we even proceed with that particular motion and time frame, I'd like to hear from my colleagues. If anybody has a comment here.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Freeman. I was going to make a similar motion just to clarify if I can. I was going to make a motion that we continue this item to a date uncertain so that we can have staff solicit additional feedback, but also provide some more analysis and also perhaps some additional information related to park fees. So if that's okay with you, can we amend the motion?
Hey, I can withdraw my motion and support yours.
Okay, so that'll be my motion tonight that we continue this item.
Councilmember Gray. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank staff. I wasn't at the last meeting a month ago, but I did watch the presentation. And it's a great job, and I know you've been out in the community and have gotten a lot of feedback, and I think it's a good plan, but I'm more than happy to hear more feedback and more direction from the community, so I'm in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
I just had one question, if I may.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Thank you. So as we look at our 10-year action plan, and one of the first, I think it's page 22 of the plan, it outlines various different projects. Are these prioritized projects? Just want to verify. So we start with the development of the 10 undeveloped parks. Second is the MLK Park revitalization. Third is the renovation to existing parks.
Good evening, Rick Anthony, Director of Recreation and Parks. They are prioritized based on a department's view, but again, as City Manager alluded to, it's very loosely and open to depending on what sort of funding streams we got, depending on what the council wishes and desires are. So it's not a hard and fast priority.
Okay, I hear you, and I appreciate that so much, Mr. Anthony. Thank you so much. I was looking at page 322, that's, I think, chapter 3, page 22, where we asked the public, quote, how would you spend $100 across the following types of park improvements? Number one was repair and replace worn or older park features. Number two was build more bike and pedestrian trails. And number three was add more or a greater variety of features in parks and so on and so forth, enhance the urban tree canopy. And then it was develop undeveloped parkland in unserved areas. And so I just hope that as we move forward, we can reflect what we're hearing from our citizens in the community, in that we have to get at our existing park facilities and making sure that we're enhancing those facilities before we begin designing new parks out there. I think we should do all of it, but when it comes to limited dollars, we have to take care of the assets that we have today. So with that, I'll make the motion.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Corr absent.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Council and Mayor statements.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Had a conversation recently with the city attorney related to some of our current ordinances related to camping in local parks. I'd like us to revisit and update some of our ordinances related to those items. Number one is the language around permitting of camping in parks. Number two is the prohibition of tents in parks, to make that clear that there is no allowance of tents and parks at any time in our public facilities. In addition to that, I think that we need to follow up with our shopping cart ordinance and see where we are, what the status is of that. And I know one component that I'm not sure has been in place, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Clegg, but it's the hiring of a vendor that will proactively go out and pick up some of those loose shopping carts throughout the community. I haven't seen that piece implemented yet in our city.
Happy to respond, Vice Mayor.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you're correct. We had actually a set aside for two different components beyond just the ordinance. One was for an incentive program, and the other piece was for a firm to go and do the collections. We have not done the firm. We have had the incentive in place, and interestingly, we have not had any applicants.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, if we can work on that additional piece, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yeah, this was, my comments prompted by hearing the gentleman come in and talk about Garsha Circle, which I'm almost afraid to drive up there. I don't go there that often and see what has happened. But I have something similar happened in Ward 5, where I happened to live on Buena Vista Road and drove out one morning, and the road had been transformed. No one knew this was about to happen. The arterial became a collector, and it's one of the biggest arterials, busiest in the city. It's the Western Beltway, since we haven't built the Beltway. And traffic was jammed going to Stockdale High, people going to work. They were backing up. 2 or 3 lights had to change before they could go. And when I inquired, Mr. Clegg said, well, that was done by our previous public works director without his knowledge or approval. And I said, yeah, when we change the arterial standards in the city, there maybe should be some discussion. That's a massive transportation plan change. All the EIRs were done on certain capacities of these heavily traveled roads. And anyway, so what's done is done, except that I'm having a lot of leading citizens call and ask that all be repainted right now. So what Mr. Clegg and I discussed, and I'm sure we'll have a little more formal approach to this, is maybe we study this for 6 months using that as an example, and see how it goes, but also use this as an opportunity to figure out how do we create bike lanes that are safe, rather than taking one of 3 lanes. There's already a bike lane. We took a full lane and made it a buffer zone. Costs about $1 million to build that lane. It'll be maintained for the next 100 years. This is just a really not a cost-effective way to do bike lanes, when we only had to add about 4 feet to the sidewalk and move it out a little bit. Would have been much safer for the bikers to make a 10-foot sidewalk into 10. There's better solutions than building an extra paved lane and never using it for the next 100 years. I point that out in case any of you drive down Buena Vista Road and find yourself in a congested road now. But I'd like to be sure we develop a better standard for bike lanes and how we can convert existing arterials to create a safe bike lane that everybody likes, but a cost-effective one, and not goof up our transportation plan at the same time, which calls for 3 lanes, especially on the busiest arterials in town. So that's my comment for this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Freeman. Councilmember Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. I was on the committee, Andre, that we put that shopping cart ordinance in place, and I agree with you. We need to follow up on that, because everywhere I go, there's shopping carts, and I'm asking the owners of businesses, and they haven't done anything. So I think that getting that incentive out there, I don't know how we're going to get that message out, but I think that would help a lot. I totally agree with you, Councilmember Freeman. I cannot tell you how many people have said to me, what the heck has happened on Buena Vista Road? So I agree with your comments. Thank you. What I was going to ask about was, I had suggested, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago, seeing the advertisements with Tunnel to Towers, how they're now building housing for veterans all across this country. And I just wanted to kind of get an update from the city manager. I know you said that you were going to have staff start doing some research on that. Do we have any update at all for our veterans?
Thank you, Councilmember Gray. We don't have a especially tangible update, but we do have local partners, the CVAF, who provide housing to our veterans here in Kern County. They are familiar with the Tunnel to Towers program. It's principally a funding program. They look for local operators to help sort of with construction and operations. And so the executive director for the CVAF is reaching out to Towers to Tunnels to explore that opportunity. And actually there's a statewide association that they're part of who's done a couple projects with the Tower to Tunnels. So she's reached out to them and talked to them about how it's worked in these other areas. And the initial impression was that they have several projects in queue going right now that will take some time for them to sort of fund and complete, but that if we get in the queue, we need to get in the queue now if we want to have projects down the road. And so I think our partners there at CVF are sort of best resources and advocates on that, and so their executive director is pursuing that on our behalf.
Okay, great. I think there's no better place than Kern County for Tunnel to Towers to build housing. So that's exciting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gray. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Just back to the Buena Vista discussion, I have received positive comments on that street, and I guess my question for staff would be, what is the capacity of a 6-lane arterial, and what is the current traffic counts on that road? And I would also state that it was never striped for 3 lanes, 6 lanes all the way. It was striped for 2 lanes, and one of the lanes was 24 feet wide, so it was very confusing for drivers whether or not they drove in the middle of that 24 feet or off close to the gutter. Or so my feeling is it's a much safer street, and so I'm in favor of the way it's been striped. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith, I'll take a first cut, and then Mr. Meyer can help back me up if any of my facts are inaccurate here. But first off, I would say that the striping plan is consistent with the Complete Streets Ordinance and Resolution as adopted by Council. That there was a traffic counts study for that corridor, and that the traffic counts suggested that 2 lanes could be sufficient. I will say, though, there's been staff feedback that the number of intersections that are along that corridor, there's several intersections that are close together, and so we need to watch closely that area. I think there is wisdom to saying, let's look at it over the next 6 months and see what happens, because while the traffic counts on paper may warrant it, we want to make sure that there aren't necessarily backups at those traffic signals. But the traffic counts said, and I don't have the exact numbers, but the traffic counts were that 2 lanes could carry that traffic. The other piece that I would point to is it is, I would agree, a fairly notable change to what folks may be used to. Sometimes those changes take a little bit of time to get oriented towards, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will be indefinitely problematic. We'll see how folks adjust and get used to that, but it is a significant change, and I think we're going to want to take a close look at that over the next 6 months. We, as a rule, I would just, you didn't ask this question, but if I may, as a rule, we have looked at our arterials, particularly those that have been large 3-lane arterials, and I even believe the multimodal committee hasn't necessarily been asking to remove lanes of our large arterials. For the most part, we've been looking at narrowing lanes and creating larger buffers. And for most of our large arterials, we expect that the traffic counts and flows are going to require some of that movement. But Buena Vista is a little bit different in it's a sort of north-south trajectory, really, ending at Stockdale Highway. And we, again, need to pay close attention to it. But I think the question about whether we have a process for some of those changes, I think is reasonable feedback. Again, I will acknowledge that we didn't have those discussions all the way up to the council level or even the city manager's office level, but it's been within the administrative purview of staff to implement the Complete Streets ordinance. But for some of these larger changes, we've noticed as some of our other demonstration projects that some of the outreach and awareness to folks makes a big impact. And so we can be better at getting word out to folks of changes that are coming. And we actually are talking with partners like Blue Zones and being able to help us do more of that engagement and awareness so that we're better prepared to make some of these changes and also have folks give input and feedback into that process in advance.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Freeman.
Just additional piece of information. The streets are planned for the developments that are approved next to them. That is approved for 7,000 units to load onto that street directly with no other arterial to load onto other than a half arterial on the other side, one-sided. So we have about 1,000 of 7,000 units that have been built there, all to load on and about 1.25 miles onto that land. When we do arterials and approve projects, we do EIRs for the next 50 to 100 years of traffic. It's not for the beginning phases of a project when a few houses have been built. The congestion will be monstrous someday. So if we're going to look at traffic counts today are pretty meaningless to permanently change a street. I just think we should use this as an opportunity. First, it's not cost effective to build an extra lane and then put stripes on it and go arterials to two. That's a very expensive way. We should look at a much more there is room in the land to have 3 lanes and to have a 10-foot bike path up above the curb. We've got 7 foot or 6 already set aside for bike lanes. This is an easy fix, other than there's some construction, to get them safe above the curb, divided, so the bike rider, by the way, no one's going to ride on that. Nobody's riding on it now. It's too dangerous, even with the buffer. When you plan new bike paths, as the West Main Master Plan has 10-foot all-purpose bike lane walking behind the landscaping, buffered, protected, the way it ought to be built. Everywhere you go around the world when they're built, that's the way they build them. They don't put them, they try not to put them level with the cars speeding by. That's how we have these deaths each year. We need to have a safe bike path. There's room for safe bike path, and there's room for 3 lanes when we have thousands of units going to be loading onto it. So I caution taking traffic studies at the beginning of a 30 to 50-year project and say that's the capacity and we should take a lane out right now. So I hope we can design a cost-effective way, because a lot of arterials, it'd be nice to have nice bike lanes in this town. I think there's land for both here. It's just a better solution.
Thank you, Councilmember Freeman. I don't see other requests to speak. Have a safe Labor Day weekend, and we stand adjourned at 6:29.